What's up, everybody, and welcome into another episode of Trust the Tape, where the we haven't legally made that today, but just go with it. It's Trust the Tape, okay? Is it the hot dog or is it the bun? I am Jeff Cavanaugh. One of these buttons says something about that. And next to me is former Dallas Cowboys scout Bryan Broaddus. Are you wearing your Super Bowl ring today? He doesn't feel like a Super Bowl winner today, and that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. There he is, though. I am in Oxnard, California. Okay, Cowboys aren't practicing today, but I think we get coordinators.
You do.
Okay, and I am out here, and I'm gearing up. I
Your
3 minutes.
yeah yeah. Your head coach talks at 11:15 your time. No, it's 11:15 your time, and
Okay.
then the coordinators are after that.
Okay, lovely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm happy. I'm happy to be here. But I forgot that clocks exist, so I got a text
hmm
from Brian about 8 minutes ago. We going today? And I was like, "What are you talking about? It's six something in the morning, Brian."
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that means okay. Yeah, we're right. Yep, we're gonna do it. Um, what was I gonna say? I forgot what I was gonna say.
You
So
were going
anyway,
to tell me. You were going to tell me why you need to watch the tape today.
yes, because as Brian told you at the close of our last show, and as people told me on the last video that I did, they said Brian was serious and you don't know anything you're talking about. You just make
Hmm.
stuff up and you
Oh
don't
wow.
do the work. That's what
Hmm.
Brian told me, and that's what you guys told me.
Oh
In standard Jeff fashion, that was right after I said you were putting a trough at Crown Global Media to carry the water for the Joneses,
yeah.
who I'll be hanging out with tonight in Hollywood for the Netflix premiere.
Should
But
be fun. Should be
it,
fun.
I feel like an idiot foregoing, but I feel like when you get the invitation, you can't not
Got to go.
go. So in standard Jeff fashion, we got here. I started to unpack all my stuff. And to have a broadcast at the house, I need you to know it requires equipment. I bring equipment with me because I'm that kind of guy. So
Mhm.
I brought all my equipment. I brought my Roadcaster. That's the audio board that you plug a bunch of stuff into. I got my microphones. I got my cords. I got all the things. And then I set up my laptop. I did not bring my laptop charger. And I'm me. And so instead of going to Best Buy
You went to the
yesterday,
Rudder Room.
I actually did not make it to the Rudder Room, but I did go to the Cajun place that I think I saw Nick Harris post about, and it was delicious. And then I felt
Really?
bad. So I Amazoned it, and my laptop charger will get here today, and then I'll have enough juice on my laptop to watch the film of the game. So I was like, but I bet Brian's watched the film of the game. I'm just going to be a day behind him. My laptop should be on the porch here in about an hour. My charger should be on the porch here in about an hour. So
Good deal.
we're gonna lean on the NFL scout here when it comes to scouting them Cowboys and Rams until tomorrow. All I have is my observations in real time.
Yeah. What do you got, man? What do you got? I'm sure you got some good observations.
I think early in the game, the one guy that popped for me was Maris Leofau.
Sure.
And you can tell me if upon tape review he had his F ups because I know he's not always the most consistent player. But
That's
when it
true.
comes to showing up at the ball and arriving with violence and doing it
hmm
more often than many others, I thought
hmm
he did what he does. He was the name that I wrote down multiple times. I'm like, oh man, Leofau showed up again. He showed up quick and he showed up
Yeah.
angry. And I
Yeah.
like that. Even on kickoff, the dude is out there like, yeah, I'll go handle that. I got you, boys. And so I enjoyed the continuation of that part of his game.
Yeah. I think with Maris Leofau, and you're right, where is very instinctive the way he plays, very quick to read, almost gets him in trouble at times. And there are still moments in certain plays where ball is at him and he will try and dip the blocker and see if he can get back inside and make the play. And there'll be times where you feel like he's not guessing because I think he sees it, but there seems like times he's guessing. If you, I mean, it's just, there's this. He takes on plays, and you're like, shoot the gap, boom, right there. And then there's times where the way this team is going to play and the way that they played early in this preseason game was moving the front. They're going to move the front. They're going to angle, and they're going to fill with linebackers, and they're going to try and fill it with a safety. They're going to try and cover all the gaps with their movement. What happens to them is if they fill gaps and then you have somebody run under a block, and it happened to James, the rookie linebacker, Shamar James. Same thing. He one time tried to take it on with the shoulder, didn't take it on with his hands, got pushed, and now there's a gap and a run. And so if this team is going to be good or decent at playing run defense, they're going to have to learn how to fit those gaps. That's kind of how they're going to have to play. It's not going to be about size with them. It's going to be about quickness. It's going to be about Maris Leofow. Um, Kind of an off game for Damone Clark. Damone Clark went back to, wow, I haven't seen this team practice. Like he's against the Cowboys when he's practiced against his teammates. He's like a different player. In this game, he looked like a guy that let the ball get behind him. In coverage, he really wasn't sure. So, yeah, I think overall for the linebackers, um, it was a little bit of some rough patches. I'll say this about James: he did a better job at the end when he realized that you can't take on with the shoulder and try and dip a guy. You got to hands and get rid of it and get to the ball. And later on in the game, he was much, much better at that. But Maris Leofow, I think, initially started off well, but he will gamble. He is almost like a cornerback in the way he plays, because there are times where he will gamble that he will get to the ball or dip a guy and get back in position. And in turn, he's leaving that lane, and he's now Bell's having to fill, or Wheat's having to come down inside. There was a couple times, like I say, with Wheat, and Wheat played the run pretty well, but they just got caught. They got caught with
Yeah.
space because somebody tried to play a little hero ball.
Sounds like an undisciplined football team, Brian. Sounds like nothing's changed around here. Shout out to Shamar James, my guy. That close. That close. I'm going to call that play a positive where he almost had a pick. I know they caught it, but that's just dumb blind luck. I appreciate the athleticism to almost make that play. That's what I like in my linebackers, the sort of guys that can fly around, but also have the agility to find their way back in coverage and make
Yeah.
plays on the football. That close. That
Yeah,
close.
he is. That's not his strength. If you watched him play at Florida, much better run and attack and blitz guy than cover guy. There were some times
Yeah.
where he got caught. A couple of these linebackers got caught not seeing it the right way. They're peeking. Bennett's standing there, and they're frozen, and now there's stuff happening behind them, and they need to
Oh,
be
that
a
was
little bit.
Moan at least once in that
Yeah,
game, too.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a little bit. I'll tell you what, they went after Keenan Hall in this game too. And this nickel situation, uh
Can I start
I
there? Can I start there with you here? Can I
go
start
ahead.
there for you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm just a guy with a camera and a mic,
Fox Lombardi.
especially today, because I'm a
Hmm.
man with a camera, a
And
mic,
without a charger too.
and producer John's laptop to do this
Mm.
show currently, which means he now has the logins to all my things and could take my identity and steal my life. Hadn't heard a ton about this guy coming into the game, and wearing Jimmy Johnson's NASCAR number as a corner is not a great idea. Sounds like a guy who, like Mike Bassick used to tell me, when you show up to a pro baseball camp and they hand you a certain number, you go, "Oh, I'm not making this team because this number is a terrible number." 48 was Zion Childress.
Yeah.
And I didn't, because again, lazy Jeff hasn't watched the tape yet. Didn't see or notice a lot of him in coverage. But
Mhm.
the way for a team who was getting run on, that when he stepped on the field and said, "Okay, you guys, we don't want to be gap sound. We want to get kind of have
Yeah.
holes up and give up some
Yeah.
stuff. Watch your
Yeah.
boy fly off this edge and handle up on
Yeah.
this end around." And I'll do this multiple times in this game where I'll see what's coming and I'll show
Right.
you the physicality you want from a nickel corner. And I'm just a little undrafted rookie out of Kentucky, Zion Childress, but I'm here to tussle with the muscle. I enjoyed Zion Childress, the parts of his game that I noticed during the game.
Yeah, no, Zion Childress has practiced well. He's put him in position to get more opportunities and more work. Um, I think there's really a competition now for that nickel corner spot, and we'll see what they do. We'll see if they find another corner opposite, and they just go ahead and put Bland. We had a chance to talk to Bland, as you probably will when there at camp. He does not want to play slot corner. He just does not want to play it. But he might be forced to play slot corner, and then they have to figure out somebody opposite him and Elam on the outside. But the thing with Childers is that he is not afraid to be near the line of scrimmage. He's not afraid to be physical at the point of attack. You're right, he'll step up and he'll see things. There were some things in coverage where he got a little bit lost and dealing with Stoops, the little slot player.
Well, I love that Bob Stoops' kid and Stetson Bennett were out there giving us hell.
How about that? But there were times where Childress got caught too far inside and needed to be a little bit more aware of what was going on the outside. And but that was kind of in some zone coverage stuff. When they were playing some zone, it was kind of wonky how they were doing some stuff with it's like everybody just was playing the sticks and froze. And now the routes developing all behind him and stuff like that. So, but Childress he's put himself in a position where he could be competitive. Will he be the corner? Will he be the slot corner? I am going to give him every opportunity because as much as I like what Hall is tried to do, they need to be better there, and there needs to be competition there.
So Stephen Jones, who we may be talking to today, Clarence Hill is working on some things. We may have a player. We may have Stephen on the DLS Cowboys podcast, which you can see on YouTube, youtube.com/@DLS_sports. Also, make sure you're keeping a sharp eye and a wonk eye on Crown Global Media on YouTube. And
Thank
follow
you.
our guy, Vox Lombardi, while you're here, because we like him too. So follow all those things. Also, watch the Unfiltered podcast with Jesse Holly.
Hmm.
He at least mentioned, I saw he was talking to Nick Eatman yesterday and did acknowledge that, hey, we're going to give everybody a chance, but we maybe have to go outside the building.
Yeah.
When it comes to corner.
Mm-hmm.
But what I didn't mention is he was mentioning the outside guys. He mentioned Andrew Booth and Troy Pride, and the way he said it was, and those guys are doing a nice job. But what he was saying is those guys are absolutely not good enough, and those are the guys we would need to replace. But he was mentioning the outside guys, which makes it sound like you would get an outside guy and throw Bland in the slot, which I don't like. I want them to go find me a slot guy and leave Deron Bland the hell alone. But I guess it's kind of whichever one's easier to find, because the answer just might not be here. The answer may not be here, except for potentially two guys who I don't know when they'll play. Like Revel Diggs, maybe November. I don't know. They can say that guys are about to be cleared, or they think they're about to clear them. I'm not counting on seeing either one of those guys in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I think both of them start, or maybe they stay in the same categories. I know Revel is like a non-football injury. That's from the college. Then with Diggs, he's got a different designation. Maybe he stays on PUP. If that's the case, then they're going to miss a certain amount of games for you there. But I think what's interesting is Stephen Jones and Will McClay. We're now going into week 3 of this camp. They understand what they do and don't have at corner.
Right.
I think they do. But the more that you ask about like Gilmore, and listen, this is when I was at camp a week ago.
He might just be super washed. Okay.
I get the impression that it is, well, he just can't run as well as he once did.
Right.
And I know people hate, we all understand familiarity. We all get that. Me personally, I'm looking at other options here. I'm going to see where's the health of Asante Samuel. Where is the health of him right now?
Hey, guess play the slot.
Yeah, I mean, where's some of these others? And maybe there's somebody that you want to try and trade for. Maybe somebody has some surplus at corner, which is very, very rare. But maybe you could say, hey, listen, we're going to move on from one of our offensive linemen, and nobody ever has enough offensive linemen. So maybe you can do that in a trade, or maybe you've already given up a third round pick, for Pickens. So you give up a compensatory pick, and you find something to make it worthwhile. I've always learned this about fishing. If you want to catch big fish, throw big bait. And
I'm talking about
so
that Whopper
that
plopper out there, Brian. Tell me
yeah, and
Whopper
that's what I'm
plopper.
saying. You can nickel and dime this thing to death if you want to, or you could go out and get like a legitimate player. And what's the unfortunate thing about it is they probably thought that Ravel was going to be ready to go. And that's how the draft and everything went. And it's just not coming along as fast as they thought it was. Now we'll see. That I was told, hey, there's never a timetable. You guys in the media put a timetable on it and all that. And I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I thought, well, okay, he'll be back at a certain time. But they just, with Carson being hurt, and it just hasn't. It went from like being really from bad to worse. Now, the one thing you did learn is it looks like Elam can play a little bit.
Yeah.
That part of it you did. That's the positive thing. But the whole thing with Diggs, Ravel, Carson, at Butler.
Butler's on PUP or whichever injury.
Yeah, I mean it is like it is not good. It's not good. And maybe that's what they're holding out hope for, that one of these or two of these guys come back, Carson and Butler come back, so they don't have to go and do something. I still think they might have to go do something, Jeff.
So, and I think they might have to do something at one other spot, because I will give you a Jeff's quick review, which Brian, as someone who has reviewed the tape, because you do own a laptop charger, you're welcome to be like, Jeff, everything you just said is dead balls wrong, and you're an
Mhm.
idiot. Another spot where I think that they may still need help, and we've talked about it plenty, is defensive tackle. And Stephen Jones mentioned that again with Nick Eatman.
Yeah.
And I will say, not that I thought when watching Jay Toy in that game that I thought that he had a
Mhm.
good game. He might have had decent moments,
Mhm.
but other seventh round guy, my guy Tommy, if
Mhm.
I could say just one thing about a guy, boy, I like when you're 300 plus pounds and when that ball moves, I go, holy
Yeah.
crap, that dude got off the ball. Uh,
Yeah.
that is different than what we've been used to with the defensive tackle group. So I did at least notice some guys that are going to give you a chance. If you're trying to shoot gaps and slant your fronts, my guy Tommy, I saw him a few times where I'm like,
Yeah.
that dude is getting off the ball. And that gives me a chance.
Yeah. King Basote, yeah, he was giving you some opportunities. The thing with Jay Toya, and people were like, I felt like the Jay didn't play well and all that. I know he had 12 pass rush opportunities. He was double teamed on 9 of them. They really, the Rams thought was to double team the inside guys and
Yeah.
let the tackles and the tight ends handle everything coming off the edge. And I think that's why you didn't get the sacks, but you got some pressures from like Tyrus Wheat and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But
I
this
thought he was.
this
I just thought he seemed a little bit inconsistent in terms of like when he gets off the ball, he plays the run well. When he
King
does get off the
Basote
ball,
or
yeah.
Wheat.
Uh, about Toya, like
Okay,
because he
Toya.
had
No,
plays where
Toya.
like he got off the
Toya
ball
is
well. He got off the ball, and you
yeah,
go, oh, he's tough to deal with. And when he
yeah.
doesn't, and he gets turned, you're like, oh no, you're too big for this. So I feel like he's just
The
on the
la-
standard trajectory of a seventh round pick.
the 3 quarters of the game, Jay Toya gave you what I think that you'd
Yeah.
have to watch the tape and go. I would not be surprised if Schottenheimer talks about him today.
And he probably had to play
Pop.
way too much because we
He
didn't
played
have
a lot, but
guys.
they got to the end of the game, and him and Daxton, and this is not an excuse, but man, when they were dealing with that, the Rams were starting to run the ball downhill, and it
Yeah.
was getting hard for them. The one thing that we talked about in pregame was, and I talked to somebody in the front office, they were looking for pad level. And pad level, when Dallas is really bad on defense, their pad level is really bad. You can see it. You go back and watch the tape yourself, and you see them get tall, and that's what happened the last series. I think it was Schrader running the ball, running. They were up and they got turned, as you said, and kind of got moved off spots, and that's a problem. But I think overall, you know, Jay Toy, no run stops, but man, I tell you, like
That position,
kind
I
of
don't need numbers out of you. Your job is to let other
he
people make
was
stuff.
he was like holding up. He was getting off blocks. He was running. He was hustling. He was trying to
Yeah.
get up the field. He was doing things that they asked him to do. I was watching it. I was encouraged by that. Where, like I say, where the defense had the problems is the fits. They're asked to play gap responsibilities, and if they don't play those gap responsibilities, they're going to give up some. They're going to give up some chunk runs, and I think that happened a couple of times to them.
So the other thing that I think is at least worth mentioning, and I don't think this one will be news. I feel like a lot of people was onto this. I enjoyed watching Phil Maffa run the ball, and we could talk about Malik Davis too. I think his circumstances were a little different. I think those kind of end of the game, and the Rams were
Mhm,
basically planning on you to keep throwing the ball around to try to win the game, and they were like, "Haha,
mhm.
what if we hand it to Malik Davis?" And he did a nice job. But I think Phil Maffa, when you're looking at the things you want to see from a running back, boy, when he gets any chance to get started and he can tell it's going to be a clean one-on-one with the other guy, when you contact Phil Maffa, we got 5 more yards coming.
Mm.
And then when they did give him an opportunity to get moving, he's got some juice. He's
Yeah.
more than just a, hey, look, I can move this pile a little bit. I
Mhm.
was very intrigued by watching Phil Maffa, who at Clemson, when you have a shoulder injury, it's hard to kind of be that power back because it hurts. Hadn't heard a lot about him in camp. All the other guys are getting the reps, but they put him in the game, and I went, I want more of that. I want to see some more
Yeah.
Phil Maffa.
I think Phil Maffa played a complete game for you. They threw him the football. He caught the football. I wish down in that red zone screen it would have been somebody like Vaughn. I mean, maybe I don't know if you score because Hoffman and Bass didn't get out clean.
Yeah,
But Maffa's not going to be making this guy out there in the flat, and but he caught the ball. He had some pass protection that he was aware and doing his job. You mentioned running the football. The thing with Davis, and I'll say this about Malik Davis, that's kind of how I envision the Cowboys running game being with Blue and potentially Sanders. So you know what I'm saying? Something like with that explosiveness where like they handed the ball and they're through. And now that's kind of Maffa did a great job with the opportunities he had. He's a different style of runner,
but you want
which is
more bang, bang, bang.
I think to me, give me the guy that has the ability for chunk plays, and I think that's Blue. I think that's now you could get a situation where it could be Blue and it could be Maffa, kind of
Yeah,
a back-to-back kind of a situation.
yeah,
But I just kind of with Davis, I'm thinking, okay, look what this offense looks like when it's got a little jump to it.
yeah,
It's got a little, that all of a sudden they run a draw play, man. They block the thing up really, really well. And then that's 10, 12 yards down the field. That's kind of how I envision this running game looking with Blue Sanders. I think Sanders can I I was wrong about Sanders, but watching him live, he still has the ability to scoot.
yeah.
And maybe like I say, well, but Maffa, tip of the cap. I thought that for somebody that I kind of had questions about, thought he had a really complete game. Run, block, and catch.
I guess the most important name here is probably Nate Thomas, but offensive line, what were your observations in the game?
Yeah, I thought, and tip of the cap again to TJ Bass and Brock Hoffman because they played the whole game. And either, Bass was at center late in the game, Hoffman moved to guard. They were kind of getting some work. But overall, I felt like that Awesome Richards, despite the alignment issues,
Well, the ref, just real quick, the ref, Jesse pointed this out to me on the game. They called him for being too far in the backfield. And then as he lines up to do
eh,
it a second time, the ref on the far end, I don't
just threw
know
his
all the
hands up.
communications,
Yeah,
but it looked like he was looking like, you're kidding me, right? You're not going to do
yeah,
this, are you? And
yeah,
then they snap the ball and he reaches in his pocket. He's like, I have to throw the same flag on the same
yeah,
player.
yeah. Obviously he from the sideline copy, man. I
You didn't think
the
it was
angle. I thought it was like where he's been
Refs do
lying
weird in preseason. I feel like refs will do stuff where they're like, "I'm going to
just to
drill it into
get your,
your head.
yeah,
I'm going to be overly strict on this to make
yeah,
sure you guys
yeah,
know this is an emphasis point. So don't get
yeah,
close. Don't mess with it."
yeah. I thought it was really the second one. I thought because you're right, the official on the side, he like puts both hands up, like you're really going to make me call this again. He just
Right,
throws the flag, and but man, sometimes you could see where it's way back,
right.
where they're way back, and like okay, I get it. This one looked a little closer, but I thought Awesome Richards playing tackle and playing guard. I thought there was some good work there, really in both areas. With Thomas, just gave up the one pressure. Adeniji gave up the sack. He was in bad position. I mean, he was in bad. I mean, it was the one leg, and he couldn't set his feet, and he ends up, getting Joe Milton sacked. But overall, though, I felt like though on that left side, if you had to say of the tackles. I thought Awesome Richards might be a little bit better than what Thomas was, but Thomas didn't play a whole lot. It was snap after snap after snap, but Awesome Richards, all the plays he had, he didn't give up any pressures. And so,
How about the guy
that's
I'm cheering for that got in at the very end? I was watching Lyle Collins, and I'll be honest, the first snap or two, I was like, "Ooh, it looks like we haven't been doing this sport in a while." I don't think that he looked not strong enough. I don't think that he looked not athletic enough, but I think he looked stuck and like, "Oh God, haven't done this in a while." So I was kind of worried for my guy.
yeah, it was the old time machine. They tried to run the draw, and he's going to do the Tyron Smith spin
Yeah,
and it's the defensive guys
throw
going
the
up the
guy.
field and throw him. And Muhammad, the edge rusher for the Rams, he tries to hit him, and Muhammad just stops, and so you see Lyle just kind of stops with
My
him.
guy looked kind of stuck a
Uh,
little bit.
he didn't look flexible, and in the workouts and stuff, moving around, I'm like, okay, that looks a little bit different, but he's going to have to he doesn't have the one time he goes up on the linebacker, he gets engaged and then loses his balance and gets thrown onto the ground. Haas said he looked like he was a little bit stiff on his set, kind of, legs were, and then body, and just not natural. The
Yeah.
way the workout was really actually pretty good. The player that played in the game looked like has not done it in a while, and so yeah, that's the
Been a
more I
hot second.
watched,
Been a hot
the more I watched that one, the more I was kind of going, oh, okay, please don't get anybody hurt here.
Okay. Is there anybody I haven't teed you up on that you want to sneak in here in the last minute or two?
Yeah, let me throw out Holden,
Yep.
Flanoy. Uh, Let me talk about
I wanted I
Guamu.
wanted I wanted Joe Milton benched in the first 5 minutes of the game. So I
Yeah,
was like, boy, Flanoy and all these other guys are getting wide open, and we get no
yeah.
chance to see if they can catch or do anything with it because you're just airmailing everything. Shout out to
You've
Joe
got
for
to,
settling down.
you've got to reward these receivers for getting open. You can't. I mean, Flanoy did a nice job. It was a great clear out by Brooks on the other side to get him the space to come across. Milton's got to make that throw, man. That is a throw you absolutely have to make. And and I want to give Holden some credit too. Holden for a rookie receiver, the ball he caught along the sidelines, like good job by Milton. That throw fit it over the corner and then inside of the safety. But I want to give Holden some credit because he stayed wide and it took the safety out of the play. It gave Milton the window to be able to throw it in there. So nice job by him. Nice job by Fairweather, the tight end. I kind of felt like that Heather Neville had a rough go at it in some of the blocking aspects that they've asked him to do.
I enjoyed
Uh,
45. I had to look up
yeah,
his
that's a
name.
Fairweather. Yeah,
Fairweather. He
Fairweather.
looks he
Yeah,
looks interesting for a tight end. Really fluid.
inline release, and then get to the end zone. And they have a short one at the pylon, one on the back, and Joe did a good job of getting him the football that time. So, yeah, it was really it was Joe Milton's stats could have been so much better early in the game. I mean, he's got that he tries to throw the ball inside to Tolbert on third down, and he's got three other options that probably get him the first down, and he took the worst option of them all. And so
Yeah.
you're going, okay, Joe, and then there was the 3rd down and 3. He tries to throw the fade to Flanoy, and he's got Moff underneath. Just try and get first downs. Just try and keep driving the ball, keep moving the ball. And so, but if I'm shoddy, I'm thinking, okay, if I'm going to go for a 4th down, run it and then run it again. But also, Milton's got to know, and maybe he does if it's a regular season game on 4th down, but he kind of comes out of there, he gets flushed and he hesitates. Bro, take it to the pylon and dive and try and get the
Yeah.
first down. Instead of he stepped out of bounds and you're yard short, you're like, well, damn, don't do that. Just go be a football player. Just sprint. Don't hesitate. Sprint. If you're going to do that, sprint and dive for the pylon. The official will mark you as you're diving, and you're going to get it right there, and you're going to get the first down. So there's some moments where Joe Milton was really, really good. And then there are other moments where you're like going, holy geez, what is he looking at? What's he trying to do here?
Bryan, you're the best. You've got to go. I'm telling
I've got
you,
to go.
you've got to go. So appreciate your time this morning. Everybody
Thank
out
you,
there,
man.
make sure that you're trusting the tape. Follow Crown Global Media on YouTube. Follow our buddy
Appreciate that, Jim.
Party, do all these things. And remember, you have no idea what anybody's going through.